Hey, how's it going there? Welcome to episode 5 of the introductory course in the Fingerstyle guitar skill. So today we're going to be continuing with the Fingerstyle techniques section. And what we're going to be speaking about today is kind of slapping and tapping the guitar in various different ways, otherwise known as percussion. So we're going to be kind of speaking about percussion today, how it's used, and I think also how it's looked upon. So we'll just kind of start off with that. I think with fingerstyle, a lot of the problems that people might have with fingerstyle guitar is that it can be a bit too flashy and a bit too much of this and too much of the kind of slapping harmonics and playing the guitar with the reverse way and stuff like that. And so what I kind of strive for is to kind of have a balance of those techniques, as we've spoken about before, a balance of those techniques married with a sense of melody, harmony, and rhythm. And I think those things together is essentially what makes for the best fingerstyle compositions, because they're just the best musically speaking. I think the thing with fingerstyle music, I mean, especially when you're recording it, is you have to get it right at the performance level. It's only as good as the performance. There's not too much you can do in terms of fixing it up in the mixing and mastering stage, or the record kind of post-production stage. It's all kind of got to be solid in terms of the composition. I kind of another guitarist teacher and kind of inspiration who also says, a lot of people can do fingerstyle guitar music, but like, can they do it well? Can they marry all those things together? And I think that should be what we all strive for when we're making anything musical, Even outside the world of fingerstyle, I think the best music is, it doesn't always have to be complicated, but I think the music that does the best, and I think is the best in terms of its, however you define the best, in terms of its complicated nature, the best forms of complicated music also have underlying musical rules that you shouldn't try to get rid of, like a good sense of harmony and melody line, So that's something to bear in mind, especially with these fingerstyle techniques, because it's easy to just oversaturate your music and composition with harmonics all the time and slapping and tapping the guitar and things like that, and it does become a bit overbearing. Usually that sort of thing is what hooks people in, and I think the people who stay with fingerstyle are the people who love it for the music side of things as well. So with that in mind, I think what we'll do is I'll speak about my track Better Days. That's from my new EP Coming Home, and I think it's a good example of how to use percussion in a good way. And remember that we're using percussion to help keep the beat of the music, especially since we have a tendency as guitar players, especially fingerstyle guitar players, to use kind of rubato. So we're using borrowed time, and things can get messy if we don't have a backbeat at some point. So even if we're not keeping it the whole way throughout the song, like tapping the thumb the whole way through, because even that can become overbearing, used it appropriately to bring yourself back into the timing of the piece. Even if you're changing timings, that's fine, but just bring it back to a thumb or some sort of percussion, so that we know where we're going with things and things don't get too muddy. So what I'll do is I'll play kind of the verse part of this song, Better Days, and from there we'll then go on to analyse the percussion and how to best use it. Okay, we'll start again. So with that in mind then, so we'll just kind of speak through what we're doing at the start. So we're just playing some basic chords here. Just the same shape, you know. Just to mention that we're still in the same tune as before, so we're in C, G, D, G, A, D. And all we're doing is we've got our first and second finger on the second fret of the A and D string, which is now the G and D string. So that's an A and an E. So and we're just holding those open, and then same shape on the fourth fret as well. And we're just going, and we're just plucking those individually, the A, D, and G string. And then in between that, we're slapping the guitar essentially. So we're hitting down with our thumb. Usually it helps to hit on the lower bass string as it's thicker, and it makes it kind of better noise than these higher up ones. So and sometimes it can even help to mute these notes, ghost notes. And then things get a bit more complicated, so again, another hit. This is something that I find quite can kind of trip people up. So what we're doing is we're hitting down as we pluck the A note here, the second fret of the G string, the A string that's now a G string. So that's just when we're plucking the string, we're hitting down on it. And even if you don't properly hit it, if you're just like hitting, plucking the note harder than you normally would, that can even act as percussion because you're hearing the tick there. So. So here, when we're sliding up, even that kind of noise can act as those two together can act as some form of percussion. So we're going, and then we're just putting in ghost notes. And then all we're doing there is just going. We're just plucking these strings, the E string that's now a C, and then our G string, and then our A string that's now a G, and then the D. First finger, third finger, sorry, thumb, third finger, first finger, second finger. Adding some harmonics on there, tying those together. So those are just two of the most basic ways, is kind of thumb tapping as you go along, because as we go into the chorus, it's not always hitting the thumb, like, you know, we're hitting as many strings as we can at some points. And so you'll notice there that the main thing that we're focusing on isn't the rhythm, and if it is, it's just because that is what we're analysing in this lesson. But when we're listening to this track, you know, that's what we're hearing. We're hearing this. But when we're adding this in, it just helps to keep the beat. So you know, it's all about marrying those two things and not going for one over the other. You know, it's the tapping and slapping of the guitar is used strictly as a percussive tool that should be aiding the melody and helping to push it, rather than just there for the sake of the technique. I don't know if you also noticed there that sometimes just tapping the string loudly with your left hand can act as percussion as well. I noticed when I was trying not to use percussive techniques, I was so. So that's something to keep in mind. Also in terms of like using this side of the guitar, later on in the track when it gets to a kind of a bridge, we use some harmonics here on the 12th fret. And then we're just kind of rolling 3 fingers here. And then tapping the top. You notice how different parts of the guitar have different sounds. So this is kind of like your bass sound. And then up and the higher kind of lighter parts of the body are where the lighter drums would be. So in this section, so we're just going, we're playing these, the C string, the G string, and then plucking the other 4 together. So thumb, 4, and then we're rolling these 3. So like to act as a 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're strumming the bottom 4. And then this bit is a bit complicated because what we're doing here is we're going from here, missing out the percussion, and then we're adding in these chords. So that, you notice how that sounds a particular way, but then when we add the percussion, so what we're doing is we're adding in the just 2 here, just 2 taps, and then a tap here. But you notice how they sound so different, like if I play it without the percussion. But then with the percussion. So yeah, the main rule is to just marry the two of them together, and the percussion is there to be utilized as a tool to go along with your songwriting, rather than just a thing to be flashy, you know. So I hope you've got something out of this lesson. You've learned a bit about percussion and how to use it appropriately on the guitar. And in the next lesson, we'll speak a bit about arranging music for fingerstyle and kind of writing your own music and how to go about doing that, and about blending all the things we've spoken about in the previous lessons together. I'll see you soon. Thanks.